Hello, I'm Yobo, and Into the Radius 2. It recently launched after being in beta for a few years. I recently beat the story, and I gotta say, I want those hours of my life back. Also, I'm going to be comparing it to the first game here because I dearly love that game, and I want to use the first game to highlight the flaws in the second. The second game starts off with you loading into a void looking directly at the Radius entity. This entity teleports around and tells you to get to the center of the Radius. Then, you're placed into home base, walk into the mission room, take your first mission, head into the Radius, and get blown up. Yes, we are only 10 seconds in, and yes, I already want to complain. See, the first game had a fantastic start. At the very beginning, you already see that physics is messed up. You're on a floating island in the void, white porcelain hands reach out of the fog, and everything is wrong. You are completely alone until you meet Katya. She is thankful that she can finally talk to someone. You have no clue what's going on, you have no idea where you or Katya are, and you don't know who you are, but you know one thing. You must rescue Katya. That is your character motivation. You're not there to solve the Radius event, you're not there to fix what happened. Your goal is to save the girl trapped in the darkness. Though the world is absolute chaos and distortion all around you, you have this one human connection to drive you on. In the second game, you have none of that. You immediately see the Radius entity, are just given your endgame assignment like it's just a homework task, and your human companion is just some guy you've never met but acts like he's your best friend from childhood. There's no human connection, there's no deeper mystery, there's no driving force beyond, "Hey bro, you should get to the center. Okay, thanks, bye." As such, I feel no desire to keep going because nothing is drawing me in. I'm not even given a reason for getting to the center other than Radius Man told me to. So all I want to do is walk the 2 kilometers out of the zone and never respawn. Another gripe I have about the second game is the lore. The first game, there are lore notes scattered all throughout the map. You can read previous explorer notes, you can come across statues of people who used to live in the zone, and also find audio logs from the UNPSC and previous explorers. They all tell a vivid and deep tale of what life was like in the zone. How some explorers went mad, how the UNPSC didn't really strive to save any of them, and the logs of some explorers trying to help other explorers coming after them. Among the notes that you can find too, some of the most heavy-hitting are the ones you get after top priority missions. You see, after every top priority mission, there is a note that appears in your backpack. This note then tells about life in the zone before the event happened, and oftentimes tell a rather chilling tale. For instance, the one you get after Kid's Playground. With this one, you head into the train yard, fight the mimics there, and complete a flashlight puzzle. Upon solving the puzzle, you ride a ghost train out of the station and back home. Then you get home, you find a tragic note saying that a long-defunct train suddenly came to life and killed a man, leaving you to wonder if you are responsible for his death. Other things that give lore, you can even find Katya statues all throughout the zone. Breaking these would give you speeches from her telling you what life was like before the events, of the tragic demise of the soldiers sent in during the event, and even more. Even at the very end, the Radius entity asks Explorer 61 if he was the one to cause the event, but concludes that not to be the case. This hints at a very deep and rich world you're walking into. The second game has a couple notes from the UNPSC telling you that Explorer 61 disappeared and that the UNPSC is the bad guys once you decrypt them. That's it. There are also Lowry statues that you can find all around the zone, similar to the Katya ones in the first game. Breaking them gives you his take on this shared history that you and he both share. However, you of course don't remember this because he's not real and you don't have this history. This also breaks my immersion into the game because, again, I don't share this history. He's trying to relate things that I've never experienced as if I've lived them and remember them clearly, and it just pulls me out of the game entirely. Other than the statues and the handful of notes, there's nothing. There's no lore, there's no background storytelling, there's no anything else, really. There's nothing to theorize about, there's nothing to question, there's no depth to any of it. You're told right from the get-go that you're an anomaly. And at the very end, you're told that your experiment has concluded. There's no big revelations, there's no deeper significance, no lore implications. You're asked to go into the radius and do a thing, so you go into the radius and do a thing. Like your parents telling you to clean your room, it's just kind of something you do. You don't think about it, you don't question it, you're just like, eh. As well, the world is completely empty in the second game. First world had a total of 4 maps for you to do missions in, and a 5th ending area. Each area was unique, each area got harder than the last, and everywhere you looked there was background storytelling. Like in Padeba, there's a man standing on the cliff of the crater inside one of the warehouses, as if overlooking his workforce moments before the disaster. In Pervome, the first thing you see is a massive hole blasted right through the wall. You know some great and terrible power has been unleashed here, but again, you're never told what actually happened, leaving you to come up with your own ideas. As well, safe houses in the first game felt small and quaint. It felt like explorers years past had found the safest corner that they could and made it as close to home as they could. It was both charming and tragic. The second game has, again, nothing. There's various ash bubbles and statues around, but other than that, it's just empty. The statues don't have anything to say. There's nothing in the game to make me stop and question what had happened or why things were the way they were. Even the safe houses felt unnatural. Instead of a quiet corner, now there's a massive dome over top of the building, making each area its own safety zone. They don't feel like they're part of this living, cursed world. Rather, they feel like a game mechanic slapped into a game world and completely break my immersion. There's also only 3 playable maps, and 1 final area. There's the peninsula, the forest, and the outskirts. But the real kicker is the moment you unlock the outskirts, you will never, ever have another mission in the peninsula. Meaning, for the whole game, you're really only playing in 2 maps. Half of what the first game has to offer. Another quick thing that's missing here is the music. I'm going to play a couple seconds of a song here, and if you've played the first game at all, you know exactly what map this is from. The music is just so eerie and creepy, but also subtle and unobtrusive. It perfectly sets the tone. But again, second game is lacking. No music anywhere besides the menu. And, well, the shop, but, I mean, who even remembers that? Another issue with the game is the enemy variety or lack thereof. See, the first game had spawns, fragments and phantoms, mimics, seekers, and sliders. There are various types of mimics, and many enemies could be armored, but they are all unique and creepy. Often, when you're coming into situations, you'd have to plan your moves. If you just opened fire, the mimics would just pin you down, while the seekers, fragments, and sliders and spawns would rush in and try and push you out into the open. Each served a role in combat, and you had to prioritize which to take out first. In the second game, we have spawns, phantoms and fragments, and mimics. Again, almost half of what the first game had to offer. Sure, there are dozens of types of mimics, but they all do the same basic thing: shoot at you. Plus, the mimics look too real and too much like regular people to be scary anymore. Yes, I know this is cause the Radius is getting better at emulating humans, but it no longer feels like a Radius game. It feels like I'm playing generic VR shooter number 327. Yes, there is a lot of modeling work that went into them, nothing against the 3D artist, but I always felt like I was fighting just bog standard army men instead of something emulating humanity. It's weird, too, because in the early betas, the mimics had orange jaws, and it kind of made them stand out and look a little bit more unique, but that got removed entirely. My penultimate issue with the game is the weapons. First game had a decent arsenal to pick from, ranging from Desert Eagle to Scar to Makarov, and plenty in between. You can modify weapons to add a suppressor, add a top rail for scopes and red dots, and add a bottom rail for lights and lasers. It was simple, but effective. The second game goes absolutely nuts with weapons. Now, there's dozens more to pick from. Each one can have parts swapped out 9 ways to Sunday, and there's even more calibers to pick from. Like, it's kind of interesting to see what all I can do with guns, but it's only interesting for like 30 seconds before I just grab a bog standard AR or AK, add a red dot like I did in the first game, and just get rolling. There's so much customization that you either just get overwhelmed and give up, or spend 99% of your game time playing dress up and ignoring the radius itself. As well, the more they add, the more I wonder why they didn't add more. Like, why no revolvers? Why no lever actions? Why no combination rifles? Why no big bore single shot rifles like the Ruger No. 1 and 458 Winchester? Why no full auto 22 long rifle guns like the American 180? See, the more they add, the more I want. And I've mentioned this in streams, but why did they add 338 Lapua Magnum? Why not 50 BMG? My last big gripe with the game is also the one you've probably been waiting for, the multiplayer. I'm just gonna say this game should not have been multiplayer. Going back to the first game again, part of what makes it feel so creepy and unnerving is just how alone you are. There's no one watching your back, there's no one to talk to, you are a lone explorer. Running missions given by an automated system, fighting unearthly enemies created by an unknown entity. Now imagine the second game. It's pitch black outside, you're low on health, creeping back to base trying not to be seen. You hear a noise, turn, draw your gun, but it's just your friend standing there with a bucket on his head.
Hello there.
There's nothing in this game that will make you feel scared if you're with a buddy cracking jokes the whole time. It completely destroys whatever atmosphere this game tries for. Yes, I do know multiplayer was the biggest request of the first game, but if they really wanted multiplayer, they should have done a short Into the Radius prequel where you and some buddies fought through the events as they were unfolding at the very beginning. I want to feel alone. I want to be challenged in my solo game. I want to pull through by my wits alone. I don't want to try and schedule a time to hop on with friends living in different continents. Not every game needs to be multiplayer. Also, if multiplayer is going to be like the big thing of the second game, you could at least give it somewhat of a pass if the enemies were any good, their enemy AI. They're not. The enemy AI is dumber than a bag of rocks. There's been many, many times where I can sprint right in front of them and they don't see me. Or I can shoot at them and they don't realize anything is happening at all until they get hit. Or on the one-off chance that they do spot me, as long as I sprint, I'm invincible. If I had to take a guess what I thought went wrong with the game, just my speculation. I think too much time was spent on multiplayer and too much time was spent on weapon customization, and everything else got shunted to the side. Again, this is just speculation, but I do know multiplayer code is one of the tougher things to do in game design, especially when trying to make a large map work with people who can be anywhere on it. But overall, I think the phrase that best summarizes this game is missed opportunity. It was a missed opportunity to do a deeper dive into the lore. It was a missed opportunity not to flesh out the maps more. It was a missed opportunity not to add more enemy variety, make the enemies creepier, and add more enemies. It was a missed opportunity not to add mystery to the story. It was a missed opportunity not to cut Ava and Lori. Overall, I think this game is just a missed opportunity. Thanks so much for watching and making it this far. If you've been a fan of my content, I would ask that you please subscribe to the channel. It really does mean a lot to me, helps me out. I'm going to keep working on videos throughout the year. Got some... My leg is broken. Got some Zelda reviews I'm still got in the works. Got some other stuff planned. But anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you all for watching, and I shall see you all next time. Take care.